The GameCube has plenty of great and valuable games, but which ones are actually worth the high price? I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I'm going to show you the top 10 expensive games worth buying for your GameCube. Now on this list, I'm not going to focus in on rare box types or even double packs where it would be cheaper just to buy the game separate. Also, I'm leaving Pokemon completely off the table just because I really don't care for those games. And I'm going to try not to say too many obvious ones, like, do you really need 20 YouTubers to tell you to buy Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem? Well, you probably do because the game's that good. But let's start it now.
Second Opinion Games.
Number 10, Resident Evil Code Veronica X. Coming in around $70, this Capcom classic was originally on the Dreamcast. It was ported over to the GameCube and even enhanced very slightly. And from the opening cinematics, you knew that this was going to be a more hyper-intensive experience with all of the charm that is Resident Evil. The storyline is far more fleshed out this time around, and the gunplay is quite a bit better. The zombies never seem so scary, and taking everything out with rocket launchers and machine guns is still extremely satisfying. If you could get your hands on this game, well, then you're in for a real treat. Just try to manage your weapons a little bit better than I do, or you're never gonna see the end of this game. Number 9, Lost Kingdoms 2, an obscure sequel to an obscure RPG where you play as a smoking hot blonde with a deck of cards that you use to vanquish your foes. You could have creature cards where you just lay down a bunch of creatures and make them attack your enemies, or you could have stronger abilities like transforming yourself into the creatures. You could also use them as standard attacks and pretty much wipe out everything in front of you. Now, not all cards are created equal, so be very careful of how you craft your deck because you could only bring so many of these into battle. So there's lots here to do and lots to see, and you better be prepared to shell out about $80 to get your hands on this game. And it's worth it because I spend far more than $80 just following around hot chicks on a day-to-day basis. Not that I should admit to that on YouTube. Number 8, Ikaruga. Now the GameCube didn't have that many shoot-em-ups, so the few they did were actually pretty good. And this one is made by Treasure, so you know that it's gonna have a gimmick. And the gimmick here is switching your ships back and forth between light and dark. You can absorb your same color bullets and be stronger at fighting the opposite color enemies. So using this makes it a bit of a puzzle game on top of a complete bullet hell shooter. And this one is insanely hard. I've had this game for years and can't seem to get more than 5 levels into the game, even on its easiest difficulty. But I still play it quite a few times a year and has given me plenty of hours of gameplay. For the low price of $50, you could have this game complete and probably never finish it. So there's a lot of gameplay here per dollar, and that makes it pretty much a deal. Number 7, Go-Go Hypergrind. In a world where cartoons are real and will do anything to become rich and famous, they often try out for TV shows. This one in particular is a skateboarding one, so there's going to be lots of kooky characters here and plenty of tricks. You'll be grinding on rails and even smashing your head into different obstacles, trying to earn bonus points. Atlus made this game with the help of the creators of the Ren and Stimpy show, and their wackiness really shines through. And this is going to be a really hard game to track down, oftentimes selling for over $100. Is it $100 good? Well, probably not, but it's definitely worth adding in your collection, especially if you have a terrific sense of humor, which this game certainly has. Well, at least a crude one. Number 6, The Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition. Originally, this game was free when you prepaid for the Wind Waker. Now it sets you back around $50. So other than the beautiful cover art, why would you want this game? Well, you could play the original Legend of Zelda, which, by the way, this is the very first time I beat the original Legend of Zelda, was on my GameCube. And you could also play through Zelda 2 and the classic Nintendo 64 Zeldas, both Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, and they all play terrific. Also, there's a little bonus tribute video on the disc, and I pop it in just to watch it again and again. So if you really happen to love Zelda, and we know you do, well then this is the definitive game to get. Number 5, Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snake. Now, if you were a huge Metal Gear fan, you probably picked this one up day one like I did. And if you did, you'd be happy to know that your purchase actually increased in value, now selling for about $80. The controls have changed quite a bit as well, making it more like Metal Gear 2: The Sons of Liberty, so you could jump into a first-person view and take down targets with relative ease. Also, the cutscenes have been remastered in kooky ways. Now, Snake seems more like a super ninja man than just your common guy that likes to sneak around and blow stuff apart. You could also spy on girls in awkward ways, and you'll find yourself being a creeper and killing lots of mercenaries. This is a terrific game, and if you've never played the original Metal Gear Solid, well, this is how I actually prefer playing it, because of the added, more smooth controls, and the perviness. Number 4, Cubivore: Survival of the Fittest. Yeah, that other Atlus game. Now, graphics aren't everything here, and apparently neither is sound effects. So why would you want to keep playing this game that's actually quite boring? Well, it's really addictive. The fact that you can evolve your creature in any way you want and continuously customizing it really is impressive, even if you are just a bunch of blocks tearing apart other bunches of blocks. The fact that you're always changing and trying to improve and trying to do new things makes the game just simply one of the best I've played on the GameCube, and it's even really relaxing at that. And picking up love bits means that you're gonna mate with lots of girls. Hey, I'm getting ready for a foursome. And procreating has never been so much fun because now you can choose how your characters evolve. Cubivore's Survival of the Fittest might not be the best in looks, game design, gameplay, or anything else, but it's certainly a game that you can have for about $200. Number 3, Skies of Arcadia Legends, another remake of a Dreamcast game that was legendary in its own right. You play as sky pirates and you save a beautiful girl, and that's gonna put you on the hit list of the evil empire that has to get the girl back. Eventually, they will destroy your hometown, so you set off on the high seas airship adventures with your trusty, beautiful sidekick. Now, I want to say that this is by far the best JRPG of the entire generation, even rivaling Final Fantasy VII itself, especially because this time around, the actual story makes freaking sense. The gameplay is just as tight, and you're gonna love all the different moves that you could unlock as you play through the game. The cast of characters are varied, and the graphics are gorgeous. There's no voice acting here pretty much whatsoever, so get ready to read a lot. And it seems that Panzer Dragoon was heavy in its influence here, at least for the sky battles, which is some of the highlights of the entire game. And for $100, it's worth every penny. Number 2, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. It's a turn-based strategy game where it's all about building relationships or just killing everyone in sight. It's also a lot of paper, rock, scissors because swords beat axes and axes beat lances and lances beat swords. So learning the play mechanics here is really important. There's also tons of different job classes, so you could be fighting as a knight or as a paladin or maybe even a sorcerer or a healer, which always seems to die, so protect them at all costs. And when characters die, they're dead for good. So really taking care of the few characters you have is important for clearing your way through the game. It also has some Game Boy Advance support, so if you happen to have Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance, you could unlock some pretty nice weapons. This is not cheap. At around $120, I would say it's worth it just for the cartoon cutscenes alone. They're some of the most beautiful cutscenes I've ever seen in a video game. Unfortunately, they're few and far between. The story will also take your breath away by the time it's all over, and this is one of the most satisfying games ever made.
What are you doing?
I've been waiting for this for a long time. I would prefer it if you use your proper weapon, so that I might see you at your full strength. General Gawain, Rider of Dain.
That was my name. Once.
Number 1, Ultimate Muscle Legends vs. New Generations. Now, this isn't much of a wrestling game, it's more like a fighting game. You have a life bar, and when it's over, so are you. You have 20 different kooky characters to play with and even go through the story mode with, which is all voice acted, with the original voice actors from the cartoon that no one remembers. And the game gets kooky with over-the-top special moves as well. Luckily, they can be skipped if you happen to watch them 4,000 times over. The sound effects are beautiful, the graphics are terrific, the gameplay is actually quite deep, and you have a character named Dick Van Dyke. And this is simply one of the best times you will ever have with your GameCube, especially if you have friends, because it only gets better when they're involved. There's tag team matches, there's the relatively simple story mode, and just throwdown matches any which way you can. You could also spend hours collecting all these cute little figurines, just like I did in real life when I was a kid, and you can create your own wrestler in a different mode that's far more in depth than it ever needed to be. This whole package coming in at relatively cheap $60 means that it's probably the best expensive game for your Nintendo GameCube. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching.
Looks like they're locked up. What will happen next? I can't quite read the next move. Superhero power is maxed out.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it, and I hope that you guys can find these games far cheaper than the prices I said, because I got them when they were relatively dirt cheap, when the GameCube was on its way out and the Wii was on its way in. And certainly keep playing Ultimate Muscle. It is so good, it nearly brings a tear to my eye, laughing my butt off. So what really expensive games do you think I should cover in the future? Or maybe even tell me about some that maybe I didn't know about. So please leave me a message, talk about some video games, and I read every single comment, and I cannot wait to hear from you. So until later, I will see you again, guys.